Okay.
This is Stephen. He's going to be doing our presentation that he'll do when we have our real estate, real deal tours.
Yeah. So just want to welcome everybody here. I am kind of skipping ahead just a little bit, so I wanted to talk a little bit about this property. I don't know how much the video will pick up on it in this light, but we will go anyway. But this is a fix and flip that I and another Renaissance investor, Dale Esperson, have joint ventured on and put together. And so we're going to talk a little bit about this particular project. So the projected after repair value of this home that we're standing in is $200,000. But just to tell you a little bit about it, we purchased it for $135,000 from a wholesaler. The rehab costs on it so far are about $15,000. We are doing really great at keeping it in that budget. So you can always splurge, right? You can always run down to Home Depot and go, ooh, let's buy the bigger, better thing. But that's what's nice about creating a budget before you start, is you kind of can manipulate what you're doing and make sure you stay within the numbers. Otherwise, we can get out of hand and lose the profit that we want to make at the end. So our holding costs, selling costs, those kinds of things, we've got $5,000 dedicated to that, and $13,000 if we sell it with a realtor and other things. But the projected profit on this right now is $32,000. That will be split between the both of us. The fun part about this, and the way that I like other people to understand, is we always hear the term, you can do this without your own money or credit. I did this house right here without any of my own money or credit. So Dale was the money investor on the deal, and we partnered together so that I would come in and manage the rehab, make sure everything gets done, and at the end split the profit between us. He gets all his money back with half of 32, and then I get what's left for me. How cool is that? It's pretty awesome, okay?
Pretty awesome.
Now, if you can do it once, can you do it again? Absolutely, okay? So we did another house across town. I'm just going to hit on it briefly because we want to talk more about what we're doing here. But our Pico house is a very, very fun colored home. It's not quite looking like this anymore. It's been demoed and starting to be painted. But that particular project's a $180,000 home when we're done. Bought it for $72,500. Got $30,000 in rehab. And then I just lumped everything together. We got about $20,000 in holding costs. This one's going to take longer to accomplish because it's a complete gut and redo kind of home. But we have a projected profit on that home of $57,244. Once again, none of my own money. So this is what's great about this community and the things that we're able to accomplish is when we work together, more gets done and things can happen.
Win, win, win.
Yeah, deals that I couldn't touch, but I could find, I could rehab, I could manage, but I didn't have the financial backing to take on. But other people have the finances to invest, but don't want to deal with the rehab. So you just marry the two relationships together and make a win-win for everybody. So the big thing I tell everybody is, why aren't you doing real estate? Well, the number one answer that we usually get is, I don't have enough money, right? Well, I just showed you two that we could do without any of our own money. So it's the relationships you build that are the most important. I'm going to hit on this just real quick, so we're going to kind of jump through as we go. But I wanted to talk about the 4 ways that we can produce income. We can either be an employee, we can be self-employed, have our own business, or be an investor. That's really the 4 categories, and then we can subdivide it all down everywhere we want to go. But typically, if you are an employee, you have a job, or just over broke, jumping over bills. I've heard lots of different versions. If you're self-employed, you own that job. And the big thing I like to point out between these, they are considered a lower financial intelligence, only for the sake of you are giving yourself, like if you don't go trade your time for dollars, then no money is earned, right? But if we get over here to a business owner who has a system, they don't have to necessarily go to work every day. The system goes to work every day, and that's what earns them money. And then investors do kind of the similar thing, but they have investments that go out to work for them. Their money is working. Here we have other employees working. It's kind of the biggest difference. But most of us, we try to go, quit our job and we go out and get self-employed and we think, yay, we're doing great. But again, that hits us up on this lower financial intelligence side. So what we want to talk about today is, how do we get over here to becoming a business owner and an investor? And the reason why is because it takes a little higher financial knowledge to do that, but most of us are over here. Now, would we all agree in the room that, by show of hands, whatever, that most people in America today have a job? They W-2 attached to your name, we go to work 40 hours a week, 60 hours a week, 80 hours, whatever it is.
95%.
It's how do we get over here with the other 5% of business owners and investors that are allowing these systems to go to work for them. That frees up their time, because that was what was important to me. My son's standing in the back of the room, my daughter's in the other room over here. I was tired of going to work every day and missing them growing up. That drove me crazy. So it wasn't necessarily that I couldn't earn enough money, right? I could go out and be a doctor and earn tons of money. But how often is the doctor, in this example, away from their family to earn those dollars? So that's why I wanted to push over here, and it's why a lot of us see that future as a good thing. But here's the other kind of a fun thing. So 5% of all the money available in the economy today is what the 95% are trying to get access to. When we get over here to the business owner and investor side, the other 95% is available. Which pile of cash would you rather be fighting for in your day? So, and the biggest difference here for me is it's really easy to see it. When money comes into a business, right? Let's say we're being recorded on an Apple phone right now. That Apple phone might be $800. How much of that income went to the person who's actually selling the phone? Right? They get paid a very little hourly wage out of it. It could be a high wage, but it's still very little in comparison to the amount. So what investors have learned to do is to not necessarily own the money, but have access to using it, right? They get to use that other 95% of what's left that wasn't paid over here to grow their business, to make things happen. And that's what I'm working to do, okay? So, why are you here today? Most people, they want more money, right? We love the idea of what we see on these TV shows where homes are being fixed and flipped and money's being made. It's the very reason I'm doing this right here. So, money is a big thing. Time, I already told you, I want to be with my family and my kids. So, time was a big thing for me. I needed to get more of it because it's the one resource I can't change. I only get so much time. I don't know when that clock is up. And so I need to take advantage of it while I can. A lot of people, knowledge, right? We don't know what we're doing, so we come to these kinds of events to figure out what does it take to get started. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. And then relationships. I already told you, if it weren't for the relationships that I had, we wouldn't be fixing and flipping this house right here. Okay? So the fun part is these can all be considered a currency. Money, currency, right? We can trade it for something of value. We can trade our time for something of value. It's what people do all day long for their job. Knowledge. Does a doctor who has more knowledge have a higher pay rate or can increase their income than somebody who's maybe a customer service telephone receptionist?
Specialized knowledge?
Right. That specialized knowledge has value. It can be traded for currency or for something else. And then the same thing with our relationships, right? I can use the relationships I have to trade for something else of value. So we are talking about an opportunity here. I do want to kind of mention this real quickly because we just got to throw the legalese in. But the information shared here is for explanation purposes only. While it represents an actual organization, any projection of growth or income does not imply that such an organization or income is typical or easy to build or even possible for some participants. Right? I love lawyer talk,
Dad,
right?
you're funny.
Yeah, I'm funny, right? Okay. So the point is, this isn't for everybody. It's not. Why is it that most 95% of us are in a job? It's because it's what we're trained to do. It's what our psyche is developed into. But for those who have the right entrepreneurial spirit, who have the drive to succeed on their own terms, they don't just follow everybody else, or fall in line and what I call high-five the loser in front and high-five the loser in back and go back to work. That's the people who can succeed at this. But even then, there's still no guarantee. It is what it is. But for those who are willing to take it on, let's talk about how you can do that. So I want to show you kind of what you focus on is what you get. What our day-to-day thought process is what pushes us to one thing or another. It's what changed, this right here changed my world overnight. And so let's talk about it. So when you're focused, most people who have a W-2 job, they tend to focus on their debt every day, right? I gotta go to work because I have bills. It's their normal life, right? We also worry a lot about our taxes. How much money is being pulled from my paycheck on a regular basis? How much is the government going to add to my taxes for property taxes, for being able to pay for my kids to go to public school, or whatever the situations are? It's a concern in our day-to-day. As soon as we hear like a prop that's going to go into play, that they're going to up taxes, we freak out because it's a concern. Our money's being taken away from us that we don't know where it gets used. And then our liabilities, right? The things that cost us money. Having a cell phone, having a car, these things in our life that we use are liabilities to us because they're costing us money day to day, but they're not really giving us so much in return other than, transportation here, there, that kind of stuff. Communication, if we're talking about a phone. But if we get up here to the business owner and investor side of things, they tend to look at things different. This is how I look at things now. I'm willing to go into debt for an income system. So that could be a rental property in the world of real estate for us. So I will go into debt to buy the rental, but the rental itself has somebody paying their rent, which covers the cost of the debt. And if I'm a savvy investor in doing things right, there's additional cash flow on top that I can receive. So it costs me money to have it, but it makes me money for it. So instead of just worrying about where that money's going every month. The last thing here is we try to avoid taxes as much as possible, legally, ethically, morally, above board, whatever we want to use the term for. The government has given us the ability to write off things on our taxes if we're a business owner, correct? If we need a cell phone to operate our business, then that can be a write-off, as opposed to if we're on the other side where that's just an expense that we lose. So there's lots of these kinds of things. But investors also look at how do we accelerate the payoff of our debt. Now, who here would like to see one quick tactic on how to do that? Yes. Awesome. Okay, we're going to talk about it in a minute. But lastly, we want to acquire as many assets as possible so that the assets can fund our liabilities. And this is the biggest difference for me. I worry day to day. I only have this much money. I only have this. I can only do this much. And I was constantly looking in at my little world and could not see anything around me because I was so stuck there. The minute I started looking at the world this way, now I'm like, oh my goodness, I can go out and help over here. Oh my goodness, I'm able to accomplish this over here. My world has become bigger than myself. And it is a wonderful feeling to be able to have access to that. Okay? So we want to get as many assets in our world as possible. As soon as our assets bring in enough money to overcome our living expenses, we don't need a job anymore. We don't have to work. The money just shows up because our business, our investments, they're going to work for us. And that's what we want to try and get to. Okay? So, I talked about it just a second ago. We would like to see how to pay something off fast. Let's pay off a house really fast. So, first of all, in this world, we don't like loans. Okay? If you have to get a loan, get a loan. But understand that we need to play the game a little differently with that loan so that we can pay it off quickly. So, lines are better if we have to have that, lines of credit. So we're going to take this mortgage right here. It's a $250,000 house, kind of average house here in Arizona, 30-year mortgage at 6% interest. Average, right? Just normal. If we had that house, we would have a $1,500 a month payment. When we look at this over time, this would be our 30-year period as we go across, the red is how much in interest each payment is. We all understand the concept, we're taught this, that when we buy a home loan, or get a home loan, or we purchase a vehicle and we have a car loan, that the first payment is more interest and less principal. Okay, pretty common thought. I think we don't understand how much, and that's where the game gets played. So we're going to break this down into 5-year lumps, and the reason why is because what happens when we usually get to year 5? What do most people do, Doug?
They refinance or move.
Exactly. Okay. So at year 5, most of us go, okay, it's time to go get another house. We've outdated this one. Or, hey, there's a letter in the mail that says I can have a cheaper mortgage if I refinance. So in this particular example, we've barely touched the principal on our loan, and then we go back to the beginning again. This is horrible. It sounds great on paper. That's why we fall for it. Okay? But in this example, so $1,250 went to interest, $250 went to principal on that very first payment. And we get down to here, and then we go all the way back to the beginning after 5 years, and we never ever buy a home. All we do is just rent it in a cycle. And who's making the money on us doing that?
The bank.
So why is it that the bank would send you a letter every 5 years and say it's time to refi?
Well, because
it benefits them.
Yeah, because
we got to be smart.
Resets the clock.
It resets the clock. Okay? So we want to get there as fast as possible. And we can.
Something that's kind of funny I just realized is that, a lot of people go, if you said, hey, would you like a 40-year mortgage? They go, oh, no, I want a 30-year mortgage. But then the reality is that they refinance 3 times. They're now at a 50-year mortgage because they just ate up 15 years.
All
of
the ground
front
you
end.
gained, you just fell right back to the beginning.
Right.
Exactly
But,
right.
but you know, they might take a little bit more money out,
Yeah.
but they're paying so much more for those few dollars that they took
Why
off.
can't we own things instead of rent them from everybody else? Okay?
The system's
So
not
we
set
got
up right.
it's rigged to not help us.
Yes.
But there are ways to beat it with knowledge. Knowledge is critical. So let's get a little bit of knowledge. So this is a picture of an actual amortization calculator. It calculates how the payments roll through this particular mortgage. So I just wanted to hit on it. It's a $250,000 house, 6% interest, 30-year term. No extra payments were put in, okay? In that situation, there's our $1,500 a month payment, and look how much we pay at the end. A whopping $539,593.09
If you go the 30 years.
for a $250,000 house,
If
you
go-
don't refinance.
Right, if you don't refinance.
Okay? Who wants to pay $250,000 for their $250,000 house more than double? Okay? We got to beat this, and that's a 6%. It's insane. It doesn't look like 6% to me. Okay? It looks more like 120%. And this is where the game changes. When we understand the terms that are being given to us. When I bought my first home, I had no clue. They're talking about amortization schedules. They're talking about all these loan and it's just stuff, right? And I went, I don't care. As long as I can afford the payment, I'll sign the line. Not knowing that that's what I just signed for. So let's beat it, okay? So if we come over here, just as a quick example, we got $1,500 for 12 months. We're going to pay about $18,000. That puts us on our schedule at month payment 12 or month 12. But look how much we've affected our balance. We've only dropped it $3,000. We gave the bank 18, but we actually only paid down our house 3. Why do we do it? Because we don't know. So let's pay it down. $250,000 house. There's our mortgage sitting over here. I'm going to show you on this side of the line. We're going to talk about how many payments you've made or how many months have actually passed in time. On this side of the line, we're going to show how far we're going to project our loan into the future so that we can pay it off faster. And then over here, do we need a tool to do this? Yes. Okay? I like to use the term Batman has a belt, you know, right? He's got a little tool for everything. Because Batman's just a guy, right? But he's got the right tools to make him a superhero. So let's be a superhero. So we're going to take our line of credit, $10,000 that's available to us in this example, and we're going to move $10,000 from our mortgage over to our line of credit. And this is where everybody goes, let's do it. Okay? I don't want any more debt. Have we ever added new debt to your life? No. 10,000 plus 240,000 is our original 250. All we did is split it into 2 places. And this is where we got to change our mindset a little bit. I'm using my hands like crazy.
Are you Italian?
Okay, so, but what that does, that one move, our $240,000 balance puts us at payment number 36. Okay? So what we did on day 1 is we moved ourselves ahead 3 years on the loan. Okay, but we still have this to deal with. So we're going to show you a technique that allows us to pay this off quickly so that we can do it again. So let's watch. So we're going to take, again, we just kind of use some average numbers, but $4,000 is an average household income here in Arizona. What we do with that is we put it into our checking account, and then we immediately go out and start paying for all of our expenses, right? We pay our bills, we buy gas, we get piano lessons for the kids, whatever it is, we go out and pay it. That comes out to $3,250 in this example today. This is where we stop. Okay? This behavior we call the rat race. Is the rat race going around in circles?
Yeah.
Yeah. Money comes in, money goes out, then we go back to the top, money goes in. It looks like a circle to me. Or almost circle. But anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to start using our tool in a different way. We're going to take all $4,000, put it into our checking account as a pass-through. As just a place to have access to the dollars. Then we're going to park the money on our line of credit. So if I pay this down, $4,000, I have a $6,000 balance left. I'm not going all crazy on math with people, but I want you to understand the interest is going to be calculated on the $6,000, not the 10. Cool? Now, can we use our line of credit to pay our expenses?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So whether we swipe a credit card or we swipe a debit card, the transaction still happens. Nobody cares. So we go out and we spend our $3,250 on our expenses. That leaves us at the end of the month with $750 available credit. Yes, Doug?
But Stephen, what about the payment on the line of credit?
I like your thinking. What do you think the $10,000 payment would be?
$100.
We've got math people in here.
Yeah, it
200
would probably be
$300.
$10,000. Let's say that
On
you're
credit card.
let's say that you are 24%. That's 2%
Whatever.
per month. Okay, that's $200. If you on
$200.
all 10,000, that'd be $200 in a month.
So you get
If
your
you're
bill.
at 24%.
Yeah, okay, so we get our $10,000 bill, right? And they say you owe the payment on the 15th of the month, and it's $200 minimum payment, right? When I put $4,000 on there, did I cover that?
Mhm.
Way more than you would have. So the bank goes, star by your name. I always do that because I'm a teacher. So put a little star by your name. You did a good job. You paid us more than the minimum. But because the way a credit card works or a line of credit, it opens up a $4,000 available line for us to reuse. So now we go out and we spend the $32.50. We're being good stewards of our money, so there's $750 left at the end of the month. Okay? Then we go out and do it again. So it's going to take us 13 months of this little cycle to have $750, to have $1,500, and so on and so on and so on until we've ultimately paid all $10,000 off. At that point, we can chunk again. So let's move a little bit quicker because we hit on this a little bit too long. So let me back up just a second, okay? So we're now 13 months into living at this particular home, or owning it at least. So we need to come over here and say, okay, we were at 36, but we kept making a house payment every month, so we did another 13 payments. Now that puts us at month 49. So we go to our calculator, month 49 gives us a remaining balance of about $236,000. So I just rounded out the numbers, $236,000 over here. But we're going to chunk it again, another 10 grand. So we move that over, process starts over, but $226,000 lands us where? Right here? Month 78.
Wow.
Okay?
Huge.
This is huge.
Huge.
And it needs to be understood. In real time, 13 months have passed. Is this an overnight success story? No. We took a year before we chunked again. But in 1 year, we fast forwarded the loan 78 months.
6.5 years.
6.5 years, and you lived there a year. Are we beating the bank?
Yeah.
Yes.
At the
Does the bank still love us?
Oh, definitely.
They love you even more. I could just never understand that. Okay, so the process just cycles, right? So we're going to roll through this really quick. So 26 months later, we get ourselves to month 116. 39 months later, we get ourselves to 129. We just, or sorry, 149. I skipped ahead there. But as we roll through, we took these numbers to about the 5.5 year period where most people refinance or move. And they've barely touched that principle. But you now have the knowledge sitting in this room to bump that up, and you have created 16 years of loan payments in 5.5 years. Okay? That's one way to look at it. The way I look at it as we skipped ahead. And the reason why I say that is because we have saved $207,000 in interest alone by creating this drop. And we skipped 11 years of payments, so another $197,852 in checks you will never write on a house you get to live in. Okay?
Yippee.
Yeah,
Right?
Baby.
So,
And you didn't change lifestyle.
did you earn any new income?
No,
Yes.
this is staying at the
No.
same 48,000 years.
All we did is took a little bit of knowledge and we used the right tool to our advantage. And the cool part is the tools are available at the bank. The line of credit came from the bank.
And that's money in your
The mortgage came from the bank. All we did is understand the game. And we used it to our advantage. So instead of just falling in line and doing it the way everybody says you have to do it and beating our head against the wall and wondering why we're always in debt, we can just insert a little bit of tactic and we can win the game. So this is really what I wanted to share today. Now, for those who would have an interest, I would love to sit down and share with you how I learned these tools, where they are available. There's a fantastic community across the country that is utilizing these tools. This is scratching the surface at what is available. I mean, we've got things where we pay 2/3 less in taxes. Okay? This was one chunking tactic. But oh my goodness, wait till you see how we implement a HELOC into the picture. There are some amazing things available, but they take the knowledge. So we'll share with you where that knowledge is available. So guys, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.